Melissa Vranjes, certified holistic sex coach. Welcome to my podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
This is a first. I've never done anything like this before on the podcast.
Cool.
So it's going to be interesting because a lot of people are very strange about sex, aren't they?
Yeah. I think they get embarrassed, ashamed, scared.
Why do you think? I know it's a very, very intimate thing,
Yeah.
and a lot of people are very private. But why do you think some people are, or actually a lot of people are funny about? I don't know, even hearing a podcast about it.
Totally. Yeah. I just spoke to my nail lady today, and she said that her friend wanted to follow me, but then she said, "Oh, but people see I'm following a sex coach." And I feel like that's society. I feel like it's cultural, potentially religion, and also the fact that we don't talk about it enough. And so people are unsure how to talk about it, unsure how to navigate conversations or topics around it. It's still very taboo. So yeah, I think those are a few reasons why people hold back from leaning into it.
Yeah, well, this is going to be fun because I put on Instagram you coming here.
Yeah.
And there was no shortage of questions. Like there's just
Oh my
so many.
Yeah.
So we'll get into all them. But first of all, let's get to know you a little bit. So your name's Melissa Vranjes, certified holistic sex coach. I was looking at your LinkedIn page. So from 2005 to 2011, you were an events director.
Yeah.
Then 2011 to 2020, working on the super yachts.
Yeah.
And then since 2020, sex coach.
Yeah.
Crazy career pivot. So how old were you in 2020?
Oh my God. Okay, I'm 36 now.
So 32.
You did the maths. Yeah.
32.
Yeah.
Okay, so why?
So I went to this workshop. I was in Bali. This is how... Tracking back just before I go to this workshop, I've always been curious about sex and pleasure. And when I was in Bali, I did a solo trip, went to Bali, booked into this workshop, and it was called Understanding Sex. And I was like, no one's going to know that I go to this workshop. No one's going to know. I don't have to tell anyone. And so already there was shame that I was going to learn something about this. It was all for women. And we went there. And it was women of all ages, and we started learning about just the female anatomy, erogenous zones, pleasure, breast massage, all different types of vulvas. Like, it blew my freaking mind. I was like, at that time, I was 28, and I thought, how do I not know this about my body? How do I not know this about my stuff? How do I not know this about sex? Everyone's doing it, no one's talking about it. And so that for me was just this pivotal moment of my life that I was just hungry for more, because it actually felt so empowering learning about my intimate body in this way and being able to relate and connect with my partner on a much deeper level, therefore experiencing more pleasure. So it was just this moment that I'm like, I need more. And I just started traveling around the world. At that time I was working on super yachts. And so I could just, whenever I had time off, I would go to these retreats. I'd go to these trainings in Mexico and Bali and Australia and Europe and just learn. And I did that for 4 years before I started a professional career out of it.
Yeah, 'cause I listened to a heap of podcasts that you've been on in anticipation of this.
Yeah.
So correct me if I've got anything wrong, but from what I can gather, you're in a relationship, and the reason you went to Bali solo is you were deciding if you wanted to break up with the guy or not.
Yes, well done.
And so you ended up dumping him.
I did.
What?
Yeah, I did.
Right.
Not straight after that workshop. A couple of years later.
Okay. All right.
You know, when you stay in relationships for too long, like
Yeah.
I should have done it 2 years later.
And from another podcast, so you describe yourself as like a reformed party girl.
Yes.
So I'm guessing your partying would have been done like through your 20s. So
Totally, yeah.
You would have had potentially like a lot of horrible sexual experience,
Absolutely.
a lot of terrible one night stands,
Ones
lots
that I
of
probably
clumsy.
don't even remember.
Right. So you go to Bali with the intention of was it sort of like it was an Ubud, eh? So was it sort of like an eat, pray, love
Yeah,
trip?
totally. Yeah, I was there on my own, and it was just kind of, I was seeing friends, but totally eat, pray, love vibes. Yeah.
Yeah. So you return home and you're with that guy for another 2 years.
Yeah.
Was that because of the stuff you learned? You thought maybe I can try and save the relationship with...
I think it was because we were working on boats together. We're in a relationship, working on boats together. A part of me didn't want to, I still very much loved him, but my intuition and my gut was like, this is not the right one for you. And so I think I just stayed trying to not necessarily fix it due to like the sex or the relationship, but just hang in there to see, to be proved that it wasn't the right relationship.
And 2 years later,
Too
oh
long.
god, everyone's guilty of that.
Yeah, totally.
So what sort of training's involved? You did like a full-time 1-year course?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I did a 1-year certification, and then prior to that, I was in India for a couple of weeks where I did another training with a sexologist, and then just bits and pieces, like some weekend stuff, another little week long, lots of online stuff. But yeah, the big certification was a year-long one with a teacher called Layla Martin, who's incredible.
So what's that like? So when you're doing a full-time sex course, like when you get home and you're like, I can't wait to try this stuff out with my partner, or is it like you get home and it's like, oh,
Enough.
don't even talk to me?
Put that thing away. No, so it was all online. So the school's based in the States. It's all online, but the start of the program is very much your own personal journey. So you're actually not diving into being a coach or a therapist or holding space for anyone until you've been on like a 6-month or 5 to 6 month journey yourself. And then you start learning how to hold space for others. Because the tools have been integrated into your body, your system, therefore you can understand how it may feel for somebody else, which I think is so important. And then, another 6 months going into like the professional side of holding space and yeah.
And then what was the reaction like when you tell your parents or your wider family?
So supportive.
Really?
So
Yeah.
supportive. I'm so lucky. I've got a very open minded family, both my mum and my dad. I've grown up, it's been open ever since I can remember, which I'm so glad. I mean, BJ like a boss, I'm sure that's probably like, pushing it with dad, but he is so supportive. He will never say anything whenever I tell him about it, how quickly it's sold out or podcast I'm being on. He's just like, I'm so proud of you, but I know that it definitely pushes the envelope.
Yeah, BJ like a boss. We'll get into that in great detail because you've sort of gone like viral for that.
It has.
It's really sort of like in terms of your career growth. I feel like it's been exponential. It's been like a tipping point.
It has. It absolutely has. Wildly. I would have never guessed that.
Yeah. So you were talking about your dad. I think about my mum. Like she's super supportive. Listens to every podcast I do, but I feel weird about.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Dad started following me, and then I put up something called 10 pussy affirmations, like things that you should be saying. And Dad said to Mum, I think I'm going to start unfollowing Melis. Like,
Well, what's the pussy affirmations? Can you remember what some of them are?
Yeah, well, you're beautiful, like, I love you, things that you would want, things that you'd say to your best friend or to yourself or somebody, say that to this part of your body. A lot of people are disconnected, you could be saying it to your genitals as well. It's just things that you would say to kind of like bring good energy, positive energy down to that area.
Right, so guys could do that as well.
Yeah, actually, cock affirmations.
You're not junk. Ignore what they're saying online.
You are a big boy. You do good things.
What's the worst sex you've had, like personally?
God, worst sex, I probably don't remember it. No, I do. It'll be somebody, I'm trying to think back. I would have been drunk and probably performing. I would have faked an orgasm. I can see the person. And it was just shit. It's where you go, I'm doing everything that they think or that I think they would want and disregarding my body and my pleasure. And then you leave just going, what the hell was the point of that?
And that's so common.
Just to get validation that I'm wanted or that I belong or whatever it is, So I think, it's...
And what are there, if any, in your professional experience, the most common sex acts from both women and men?
Sex acts. Well, I work with women, so I can probably really speak into that. But I would say, and this is in heterosexual relationships, is men coming into the bedroom and just thinking that they know it all and won't take feedback. You know,
They
they
hurts
get
your ego.
highly offended
Yeah.
if their woman wants to try and guide them to do something
Right.
else.
Oh, that's that where you get, well, I didn't have any complaints from any previous
that's it.
partners.
Well, my last partner loved that move. It's like, I'm not your last partner.
That does
Get
happen.
that.
My first serious girlfriend, she really loved like having her nipples bitten.
Yeah,
like,
great.
Quite hard.
Yeah.
And then after that, my very immediate relationship afterwards, I
You
chomped
started-
down on her nipples. She's like, "What was that?"
Get back, tiger.
Okay, so BJ like a boss. Where was this idea born?
It was an online workshop that was created just out of, I kept getting these questions coming up from women speaking about blowjobs and like, how do I do, like, what about if I get sore jaw? What about if, you know, these questions that just kept coming up related to blowjobs, but also actually it's a bit wider than just blowjobs. It's men's pleasure as a whole. Women are yearning to learn how to pleasure their men. And so, yeah, we just kind of niched it down and went into blowjobs, and it blew up. Like online, it was one of the most bought courses, and then I just decided to bring it out into the public, which was very edgy and scary, and I did not know how it would go.
Yeah, I can't imagine the anxiety you had around that.
Completely.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I was like, I said to one of my girlfriends when I was walking, I was like, have I lost the plot? Am I like, what are people going to think of me doing a blowjob workshop? How am I not going to, or how am I going to make this at least chic and not tacky? Because it has the ability to be very tacky. You know, if you're like, see you guys, I'm off to a BJ workshop, like, you know,
Yeah.
what do you think? It's definitely not like in a beautiful restaurant, everyone dressing up with champagne and like goodie bags, which is what BJ Like a Boss is. So I really wanted it to be like girls' night out. Like you get dressed up, you put your heels on, you drink champagne, and you suck dildos.
So what are the dildos? Like just like a suction cup.
Yeah, suction cup, pink, glittery dildo. I wish I brought one.
With the balls as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah, right,
Oh God,
right,
yeah.
right.
Oh, you can't just do a half job.
Right. And who are, so is it like hens parties that come along, or is it
It's
groups
a
of
variety.
strangers?
It's a variety. So it all started out doing private hens. So a girlfriend of mine said, Mel, can you do us a solid? We've got a hens party coming up. Can you do a blowjob workshop? And I was like, whoa, I've never done that before, and like I'm unprepared, but I'll get a bag of carrots and like, sure, I'll come and do the workshop with you. So we had a bag of carrots, we had condoms, I printed out a little brochure, and then word of mouth just spread, and people say, hey, I heard you did this blowjob workshop, my friend's here, da-da-da-da. One week I had like 4 people messaging me about this 1 carrot blowjob workshop that I did. I was like, there's a need for it. And last summer was my first summer where it was pretty much booked out, and I upgraded from the carrots to the pink suction cup dillies. So
Yeah, and I've heard you on like podcasts talking about this, and I think it's a really important thing. It's not about because a lot of people will be like, well, why do I care? And people will say statistically only half of people involved in a blowjob will be having a good time. But this is I've heard you talk about it. You talk about it quite passionately. It's just as much about the giver as the receiver.
absolutely, it shouldn't be called a blowjob. It should just be called like giving head. But I believe, and this is the whole intention of BJ Like a Boss, is teaching women how to pleasure men through a female-focused lens. So it's not like you're not getting down on your knees and you're not doing the deed and going, okay, well, are you finished yet? Are you done? You can actually enjoy it too. And I think that's a big part that's missing in the education around this is when you're enjoying it and your partner's enjoying it, there's more energy, there's more excitement, there's more juiciness, there's more passion, there's more aliveness, and that's what makes good sex. So instead of being someone who's just like, okay, let's tick this off, it's your birthday. You know?
True. And your birthday anniversary.
Yeah. It can be so much more than that, and I think that's that's what I just love teaching women. It doesn't have to be a job. And even if after the workshop it still feels like a job, that's okay. You don't have to enjoy it. But there are ways that you can enjoy it too. When you're in your body, when you know the targeted zones to hit, it gives you more confidence, therefore you're more on board.
And the women that attend, are they, for the most part, signing themselves up? I'm just thinking, if you're,
Absolutely.
if you're
No,
like,
you cannot.
I'm thinking it's my partner's birthday today. If I gave her a voucher this morning,
You can't do it.
I feel like that could be seen as offensive.
Absolutely. I don't think you can do that. I don't. I had this conversation a while ago, and it's like you can't tell your partner, you can't book your partner in to upskill in the bedroom unless you're involved and you're doing something together. It's like, babe, let's do this workshop so we can work on our communication skills, or let's do this thing where we can both learn how to get better at giving head. But no, not a great present.
So everyone turns up. They take their seats. I'm guessing the dynamic is different from crowd to crowd. So say if it's a group of friends, they're already, the ice is already broken. But if it's strangers, how do you address the room? How do you get the ball rolling? The balls rolling.
Screwed and rolling. So first of all, everyone, it's a very beautiful environment, the event that I do in Auckland, where you kind of like, there's a host, she will take you to your seat, and you get poured a glass of bubbles, and then I will come over to each table and just chat and talk to everyone, help them feel a bit more comfortable, ask them how their morning's been or day's been, and then it's kind of just like meet and chat to each other, like you're in a booth setting, so it's kind of easy, you're sitting in this like nice booth setting to chat to each other, and everyone's feeling the same, everyone's fucking nervous, and they're just like, so yeah, do you guys really know what's happening? And I overheard someone have a conversation, they're like, no, not really, but I feel quite intimidated seeing 50 dildos on all these tables. But yeah, I think, and for me as well, it's just making it fun, and it's not serious, you're not going to an actual like workshop environment. You kind of are, but it's just a sexy one where you're writing journal like notes, and it's like you're in an environment where you can relax. There is a bit of alcohol there to just soften the blow, pun intended.
Nice.
And I think when it's fun and it's like we can all laugh that we're in a room full of dildos together, it just like relaxes everyone.
And what are the key takeaways?
I can't tell you those.
Oh, really?
Okay. No, I can.
Yeah.
Of course I can. The key secret is to warm up his whole body before getting to his genitals. It's like so often, and men do this for women as well, you just go straight to the genitals, straight to this, like, right, let's make this happen. Or,
Oh my God, it's like you're doing an impression of me.
Oh, what?
No. I heard you in a podcast talking about DJ Clitty, and I'm like, oh, fuck, that is... I think I'm terrible in bed.
You've done it? Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Anyway.
In what way?
Well, just what you were saying is wrong in this podcast I listened to. It's like, oh, yeah, that's me.
You've been doing that. You've got to slow it down. So that's another key takeaway for everyone in bed, is slowing it down. No woman loves her clitoris DJ'd on. I'm sorry if that's what you do. Maybe it's worked for some women, but I can tell you right now, the majority don't like speed straight away.
Right.
You've got to warm it up. I should have brought my pussy cushion, but yeah. Okay,
Part two. So erogenous zones. What are his or her erogenous zones? Wake all of those up first. And then when you are moving down towards the genitals, go slow. Start off, so, if we're talking about the workshop, what I teach is his erogenous zones. Make sure you don't forget the balls. Hand job. Lots of people find hand jobs really awkward and they kind of just want to get them over and done with. I talk about really beautiful strokes that you can do. Don't forget the rear. I talk about the rear and how a man's prostate is like really pleasurable for him. Some men don't like that. And then finish it off with a blowjob if you want to finish there. So the key takeaways is really like to move through mapping his body before you even get to the blowjob. Right. So by the time you get to the blowjob part, he's like 80% of the way there.
Yeah, you only have to do it for a minute.
Win-win.
Female focus lens, you know what I'm saying?
And the so the dildos that you've got for these things, do the customers take them home, or do you what do you do with them? Dishwasher?
Bath. Chuck them in the bath. Yeah, it's too many for the dishwasher. They all go in a bath. Yeah, I've got a huge suitcase. One side is filled with 50 dildos. The other side is filled with condoms and ribbons and lube and pamphlets and all the things. So take them home, put them in the bath. Yeah.
Amazing, because you're married, right? You're married. I've
got a partner. I'm a mum. Yeah, I'm not married. Yeah.
Yeah. How old are you?
36.
No, but how old are your kids? You got.
Oh, my boy. I've got a little boy who's 14 months.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so he's not at the age yet where you have to worry about the bath full of.
No, he doesn't know yet.
There was something else. I either saw this on your Instagram or maybe heard this on a podcast, but you've got like a list, 5 different ways to perform a hand job.
5 different like strokes. Do you mean?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it's. What are they? Do you know what they are off the top of your head?
Yeah, we've got. You can count for me. So infinite penetration. So that's just constantly stimulating his cock, right? It's a great one to start off with. The second one is kind of wringing out the towel. So as you would wring out the towel, and for anyone who's listening, use lube. Use lube. No one wants a dry hand job. Lube is key for everything, every time you have sex. Wringing out the towel, so you're going to be doing something like this, or if you want to go that way, you can go that way. You've got the bottle top, so it's 2 fingers, holding at the base. You want to pull down his foreskin, hold at the base of his penis, and then kind of wrap around the top. What else do we have?
I think that's 3.
That's 3?
This is good, though. This is great.
Good. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that'll probably do us. Because as I said, I don't think I'm particularly good in bed, so I'm.
This is great. We can work on this.
Yeah,
what do you need help with? I'm here.
I don't know. It's probably a communication thing mainly.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm reluctant to say what I want, but I have had like previous partners, and I'm loath to criticize anyone else because I know I'm not good myself. But when it comes to hand jobs, you know, American diners, how they have those glass bottles of sauce, and sometimes you got to wet like. You know, you got to.
Where's this going?
Like, even tap it to get the sauce out. I feel like I've had many hand jobs from different women like that. Like,
yes, because
I'm sitting there thinking I could do this way better and way quicker myself.
Yeah,
this isn't even enjoyable.
You're like, I'm in pain.
And neglecting the balls, and I'm not a young man anymore, so these things are flying around like golf balls in a stocking.
Grab me from behind him and just get those up here. Well, I think a lot of that is because of porn. Honestly, it's like I was at a hen's party, and when I was talking about some of these hand job techniques, she was like, "Oh my God, I thought you always just did this really, really hard to just make him blow." And I was like, in pornography, that's honestly what we see a lot of. And so women educating themselves through pornography, then going to their partners and in the bedroom and doing the same. And men the same with women. It's like when I'm going down her, I thought I just had to go. Don't tell me you're doing that as well.
No. I think porn is very dangerous though.
It is.
I'm, I suppose, lucky in air commas that you know, I was like mid-20s, I guess, before the internet became sort of what it is now. So if I was lucky growing up, you know, you might have a mate that got a penthouse or a Playboy from a service station, and that's all you had to go on. But the porn now, this is another really, given my limited exposure to pornography, all these weird categories. Like there's so many like stepsister or stepmom porn. It's like massive. You know it's not actually their stepsister or their stepmom.
No, of course not, but it's just the fantasy idea of it, right?
Yeah, how is that a fantasy? When did that become a thing?
I don't know. I mean, I feel sad for what like the younger generation are moving into with what's on the internet these days. It's kind of terrifying, to be honest. Yeah. Not sexy.
No, well, yeah. What should parents do about this? I mean, this is not something you have to think about for, I guess, another 10 years, 12 years, whatever. But what should parents be doing in terms of like sex education or talking to their kids about this stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the biggest thing is talking about it. I grew up in an open family and talking about these things and saying, hey, look, this is out here. This isn't normal. This is entertainment. This is performance. I don't think it's fair to say you shouldn't watch this, right? Because naturally a kid's going to go, oh, well, I can't have that. I want it now. So I think communication is big, and just talking about what real sex is, what healthy sex is, a big part communication, and kind of wishing for the best.
Oh, I appreciate that. And what sort of age do you think? Or does it vary from?
Do you know what? Apparently, I mean, I'm not there yet, but apparently young boys are watching porn at like 10 years old, 10, 11 these days. Like, it's just...
That's terrifying.
I learnt about sex when I was 10 because my cousin told me about it, and then my parents brought the books out, the anatomy books. I started crying.
Did you?
Oh,
Why?
God, yeah, because I was just overwhelmed. Like, an anatomy penis, I was like, oh, God, what the hell is this? An anatomy vulva, and what? They do that? I remember driving over the Harbour Bridge with Mum, and I was like, I have a question about the conversation we had, and I want to know, how long do you have sex for? And she giggled, and she was like, it really depends, love. And I was confused ever since. Depends on what? How long? Who can last? Or
It was still your upbringing was still better than mine in that regard. Because from memory, we just had this series of these big sort of cartoon books, like What's Happening to Me, Where Did I Come From?
Oh,
Do you know that? Do you know the books?
No, I don't.
They were really big in the 70s and 80s, and I remember that just appeared on the end of my bed one day.
Without any no.
There may have been some deodorant there as well.
Oh my God, some links or something. Wow.
Yeah, anyone of a certain age will know the books I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
What's Happening to Me, Where Did I Come From? And then it works through the ages.
I mean, it makes sense that communication is like a hard part for you in the bedroom then, right? If there was no communication from the get-go.
Yeah. But it's strange when you know there's a flaw, or there's something you could be doing better, but you just don't know how to start with it.
Yes.
Okay, so the opposite of a blowjob, like we sort of just touched upon this a second ago, like so guys going down.
Yes.
How can we be doing better?
Yes. Okay. Feedback is your friend. You know what I was saying before, where guys, they instantly just get offended when a woman is trying to say, hey, can you slow down a little bit, or can you go a little bit to the left, or I don't actually like that. And they instantly take it personally and think that they're not doing a good job. So feedback is your friend. Listen to your woman. Slow down. So DJ Clitty, no. Sorry, you're going to have to retire your decks and you're going to have to come up with something else because it's not working.
But DJ Clitty's actually, I was going to say he's quite good, but I don't think he is, because he'll do like a minute with this hand in it.
Oh my God. And he just gets double text.
Yeah, and then if it goes for too long, then I might sigh a little bit.
Oh,
How you getting on?
Well, she's not going to get anywhere with that. The pressure.
Right. Okay. So being passive aggressive is not the way to go.
It's not the way to go. No. Good. Okay. So feedback is your friend. You want to slow down. Let's talk about tongue technique. So you want to be going wide, flat tongue. Never a pointy tongue unless she wants that. So I'm talking like wide, flat tongue, nice big licks up her vulva, not a pointy tongue. Absolutely not. No, we want wide, flat tongue. Another thing that can feel really good is making an O, like creating pressure with your lips and an O over her clitoris. And sometimes you can kind of even just hold your mouth there, and like a really gentle suck can feel really nice, or even using your tongue to massage that. So the O suction with your tongue kind of massaging her clit can feel really nice as well.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
I think that's really helpful, not just for me, but for a lot of people, I'm sure. Oh, just doubling back to something you said before. You said like lube is important.
Yes.
The more lube, the better.
Absolutely.
I've always felt weird about lube. It's if you feel like if you're doing a good enough job, then she will be lubricated enough.
Totally. Yeah. But it's just not always that way, depending on where she is at, potentially even in her cycle and the season of life, if she's breastfeeding or postpartum or menopause. Some women don't get a whole lot of arousal fluid, and that doesn't mean that their partner's not doing the right job. That's just her body, and lube is such an easy way to enhance your sexual experiences, right? As soon as you're about to massage her vulva or you're about to massage his cock, a little bit of lube, it just when anything's slippery and slidey, it starts to bring in like that sensuality, that excitement, that like, oh yes, things that are moving here, and it just feels nice to touch, nice to experience. So lube, honestly, almost every single time I'm intimate, I will use lube.
That's good to know. Now, how's sex changed for you, and how's your sex life changed since you've become a mum?
I definitely don't have sex as much. I never used to be a quickies gal, but since having a child, it's
out of necessity.
it's got to be done. It's got to be done. So yeah, it's changed a lot. It's changed a lot, but also I think it's quality over quantity now. And when I am intimate, either with myself or my partner, it's intentional, it's great, it's hot. Lots has changed.
How long was your break? Like towards the tail end of the pregnancy, or after your son came along?
Like my maternity leave?
A dry spell, I guess.
Yes. So I didn't have sex for 6 months, or we didn't have sex for 6 months. Yeah. So the end of pregnancy, I didn't feel like it. And
understandable.
And we have such amazing communication, and I could just tell my partner and say, I'm really not feeling like it. Like if I do, I will initiate and let you know, like it's going to be on my terms now. And he's so respectful. And of course, that was penetrative sex. There was obviously a lot more like fun stuff that we could do. And then after birth, we made an intentional pact that we're just going to take sex off the table for 3 months while I enter motherhood, and just kind of like allow my body to get back to,
to heal.
But yeah, exactly, to heal. And that was really fun, and it really made me realize that sex is important and sex is amazing, but also you can still be deeply intimate with one another and not be having sex. You can still have a phenomenal relationship and not be having sex, but it's communication that keeps those lines open. So there's no elephant in the room of like, oh God, oh no, he's touching there, he's going to want more. So, oh my God, he's tongue kissed me, it's going to go further. There's none of that, because sex is off the table.
Yeah.
So that was so beneficial to do, and I honestly fucking loved it. I loved it. I coined the term sexual rest. Someone's like, oh yeah, sexual rest, I'm off for the next 6 months.
Off the clock.
I'm off. But it was amazing. It was amazing. I loved it, and it allowed us to come back together. And then I think when we did start having sex again, it was more passionate and hotter, because we hadn't had it for so long, and it was more intentional.
Well, why the break? Were you just tired? You didn't feel sexy?
I was pregnant. Full stop. I was pregnant. Yep. I had no desire. I lost my libido during pregnancy, near the end of pregnancy, and then I was a new mum, and I just didn't want the pressure of sex there. And so just communicating about it and saying, no, I don't want that right now. I'm entering a whole new chapter of my life. I'm learning how to be a mum. My body's healing. I just want to take it off the table. And
so much of it's about communication, isn't it?
It all comes down to communication.
But was he marking off the dates on the calendar?
No.
18 days to go. Who are your most common clients? Like, who comes to see you? Is it couples that are in trouble? Is it mainly single people that want to?
Yeah, it's a split. I would say a lot of women who are wanting to gain their confidence back. Mothers who have lost sexual desire for their partners, women who have been married for years and years, and they just, a big part is libido and sexual desire and sexual confidence, and women just going, I want to spice it up. How do I do that? I've lost my confidence after having a baby, or I've lost my confidence after this has happened in our relationship. So it's women kind of just wanting to get back on the horse. So to speak.
Did you lose any of your confidence after?
Absolutely.
Yeah, did you?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. There was a part of me that had to build up again. It was almost like, especially after not having sex for such a long time, and after going through something like birth, it was like, oh my gosh. And obviously my body had changed as well. So I went through lots of layers of definitely societal stuff, that bounce back culture. After you have a baby, you should be ripped and looking good and ready to go, and you've got to get your sex life back. I was like, want to make sure that I don't feel any of that pressure. But I did. It did. I think it's inevitable as a woman.
Yeah, and this is coming from you. You're well equipped with the tools.
Yeah.
You knew what to expect.
Absolutely.
So no one's immune, right?
No,
Yeah.
absolutely not. And I think that's important to mention. Just because I do have all the tools, it doesn't mean I'm not going to go through hard experiences or challenging experiences.
Yeah. Who are some of the more unusual couples you've seen? See anything that springs to mind?
It depends what unusual is. I think everyone has their own normal.
Yeah.
So
Like their problems or their objectives, and you think, oh, that's out of the ordinary.
I mean, a challenging one, which this is not abnormal, is just couples having differences in what they want in the bedroom. Where it's like, maybe it's a kink or a fantasy or something that they want to do, like have a threesome or open their relationship, and their partner's like, I don't want to do that. What does this mean for our relationship? Do we stay together? How do we work through this? How do we navigate the fact that one partner really wants this and one doesn't? So nothing like crazy, but just really working on like dynamics within relationships. And yeah, it's a challenging one.
Yeah, the threesome thing must be it.
Are
you sitting there thinking, this is beyond my pay grade? You guys need like couples therapy, or you need a therapist, or
As someone
how do you?
A threesome is like, you can work through that and talk about people's boundaries and stuff like that. But if someone comes to me wanting to open their relationship, that's not something that I'm monogamous through and through. That's not something that I work with couples. So when there's something niche like that, I absolutely recommend them to go to a therapist or to a coach that focuses on that.
In your opinion, what makes someone good in bed? You know how you hear the saying, good in bed?
Yeah. So
is
many
that?
things. I keep coming back to communication, but if you can communicate, if you are good at communication, you're going to be good at sex. Like, hands down. Someone who listens, someone who's open to receiving feedback, someone who's willing to explore, stay curious, open-minded, who makes their partner's pleasure a priority. Yeah, I think those are the key things.
God, I've got a lot of work on. All right, I need to communicate more and stop being so selfish. Okay, right.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot to...
She comes first. She comes first. There's a book called She Comes First. I think it's actually for men.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but...
It takes longer for women to reach orgasm, right? It takes approximately 30 to 40 minutes for a woman to reach orgasm. Men, 2 to 3 minutes on average, right? So if you look at those stats and why we have such a huge orgasm gap, which is in heterosexual relationships, men orgasming more than women, we need to be focusing on the female body. We need to be listening to our female partners and really understanding what is it that turns them on, what is it that turns them off, what gets them going, how can I pleasure their body, how do they want me to touch their body. They have to know this first, though. It's not up to you or men to go, I'll tell you what you want. They've got to do their homework. We've all got to do our homework.
How do you stop sex from becoming robotic in a long-term relationship?
Spice it up. Go have sex in another room. Bring some toys into it. You've got to really think outside the box. And I think a big one is talking about what turns you on and what turns you off. What are your fantasies? What are your kinks? What are things that excite you that you've never explored before? Like, start to incorporate some of those things, even if it means starting sex off in a different way. So the person who always initiates, there's usually a common person who always initiates. Let the other person do it. And, book it in. So, next week, I'm going to be initiating sex. You're not going to know when it is, but I'm going to be stepping into that role. I don't want you to initiate sex next week.
Right, so this is like a conversation that you have.
Yes.
Right,
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, you've got to talk about it.
The communication thing again. No, that sounds really good. Okay, this is going to happen in the next week. You don't know when or where.
Yeah, and even if it is, it's like, a lot of couples who have been married or in long-term relationships, it's like, cool, we kiss, you probably touch me there, I'll probably do that to you, and then we'll start having penetrative sex, and then it'll all be over in X amount of minutes, And it's like...
It's like you've seen my tape.
I mean, I didn't want to tell you, but yes.
No, but it's funny though, because it's like it would make sense that in a long-term relationship, like, you know, as you get to know someone better, the intimacy should get better. Yet there's still something quite thrilling and exhilarating about a one-night stand with someone you hardly even know.
Totally.
But, yeah, like in a lot of my relationships, and I'm the common thread in all these things,
Yeah,
so I know I'm the problem. It does get to the point, I don't think I'm selfish, so I'll always make sure she comes first.
Yeah.
But then it seems like a formula, you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like the same positions, the same thing.
Yes,
I'll
yes.
make sure she's sorted, and then it's
Yeah,
my turn.
totally. But even if there is that routine, and I'm not saying you have to change up the whole routine, what could you just switch up, like a position or a bedroom or something that you're wearing or something that you're even saying, just to make it feel slightly different or to bring in a little bit of spice, right? Variety is the spice of life. Bring in just a little bit of variety, whatever that is. And like something practical is actually getting a piece of paper. I share this all the time. Piece of paper, line down the middle, turn ons, turn offs. Write down your senses, what turns you on through sound, your eyes, smelling, taste, touch and feel, and then use thoughts and imagination as well. Write down all the things that turn you on, all the things that turn you off. They're just as important, because you could be in bed with somebody and something that turns you off is potentially knowing that the kids are going to walk in. So something that could help that is knowing that the door's locked. So if your man is like initiating and you're hooking up in the bedroom, whatever, and you're thinking, oh my God, the kids could walk in, you're not going to get turned on, right? Because your body is going and it's telling your brain, now's not the right time to get aroused or get turned on. So you're going to stay at a level 1, right? While your man is like firing at an 8. But if that door was locked and he knew that, then while you're hooking up, whatever, he pushes you up against the wall and he locks the door, boom, you're there. You can be in your body, you can be in the moment. And so when you have these sheets with each other, share them. Even that's a bit of foreplay. When do we ever do that? This is something that my partner and I did after birth as well, just to kind of like reconnect again. And it was so hot and fun to know, like, oh, you love it when this happens, or you love this environment, or like that turns you off, and it was like, oh, I want to make that happen. And it's same for him. Like he was like, oh, it's so cool learning this about you, because now I know exactly what ingredients you need to get in the mood.
God, this is really good stuff. This could save a lot of relationships.
Yeah, totally. When do we ever really learn about our partners in this way? You know, have you ever sat down with your partner and have asked them, what are all the things that turn you on?
Never.
Like, we just don't do it.
Never. And you think about, I suppose, the thing that attracts people to infidelity or affairs, like it's the exhilaration, right?
Yeah.
It's the naughtiness,
Yes.
rather than just the sex. So
Yes.
what you're suggesting is to like bring this into your relationship.
Absolutely. Novelty. Like,
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
that
yeah.
looks like for you and your partnership. Like, does it mean that you've always had this desire to have public sex? Well, how can you make that happen? Talk about it with your partner, and it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be a yes. You've got to respect their boundaries, but how could you bring in novelty? How could you bring in excitement and passion and play? Because I've worked with couples who have been together for 10, 20 years and they're having the best sex of their lives. You know, so
Yeah.
it really is about having those sometimes awkward conversations to go, hey, I'm feeling a little bit stagnant around our sex at the moment, and like I've been thinking I would love to like go on a nature walk with you and have sex out in nature with you. Like, what are your thoughts on that? And it's reassuring them there's no pressure around that. It's just an idea that really excites me and kind of turns me on, and I want to do it with you. What are you thinking?
Yeah, not the Milford drag in the middle of summer.
No. I mean, some people would though. Some people may want that.
But, okay. How do you navigate this stuff then? If one person's more adventurous than the others, say quite vanilla or
Yeah.
prudish or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I think it's just like, how can you meet in the middle? You know, how can the person who's very adventurous not necessarily tone it down, but what would the first stage look like for them? And the person who's maybe, as you mentioned, a little bit more vanilla, like what would it look to go to level 1 for you, to spice things up a little bit? And you really, the intention is like, you're doing it to connect with your partner deeper. You're doing it to experience more pleasure. You're doing it to have more fun. You're not doing it because you're lacking something or because it's not good enough. You know, there's just like a different energy. If it's like, babe, I've been thinking about this, you know, I don't know, sex out in public again, and like it really excites me, and I just imagining you and me doing that, like I just feel so turned on and I want to make it happen with you. What are your thoughts on this? Again, there's no pressure, you know, so it's just like the way you invite your partner into a bit of novelty or fun or excitement is so important. You want to do it in a way that's inviting them in, not like our sex life is shit and like we need to change it up.
Yeah, because you don't want them to like completely shut down.
They
I
will.
guess. And
Yeah.
yeah.
They will and be offended.
How much sex is normal? Is there such a thing?
Yeah, and you know, it's a hard question. I get asked this a lot. There was a study done recently where commonly it was around 3 times a month. But I'm always really careful with that because depending on what season of life you're in, for me, example being postpartum, I was having no sex for many months. That was normal for me in that season of my life. So even when I say that number, anyone who's listening and maybe you have sex once a month and that feels normal for you in your relationship, all good, great. Normalize that, celebrate it. If you're someone who is like, I want to be having more sex, you've got to have a conversation with your partner. How can you invite them into having more sex? What does that look like for you? So yeah, around.
Yeah, I think comparison's a very dangerous thing, eh? So you go to a barbecue with some friends and then you find out Cheryl and David are doing it 4 times a week.
I
or
know.
whatever. Suddenly,
yeah. I feel like, and sometimes you got to be so careful with those conversations because some people aren't actually doing it at all, and they feel so much shame and embarrassment around it that they're lying to cover up the amount of shame and weight that they've in a sexless relationship or marriage. So comparison, ditch it.
Well, then I suppose this leads on from that. How do couples deal with or navigate a mismatched sex drive?
This is a really common one.
Yeah, is it?
Great question. The first thing, you know what I'm going to say, is communication. The person who, let's say for an example, there's a couple and the guy, for example, says, I want to have sex 10 times a month. And the woman says, well, I only feel like it 2 times a month. How can you meet in the middle? So again, it's kind of like your kinks and fantasies, right? And you come up with whatever that looks like. Like, I could feel comfortable doing it 4 times a month. That 10, that doesn't feel like a yes for me. It creates a lot of pressure and stress. 4, I can manage that. Now, the person who has the highest sex drive is going, well, I still need it 10 times a month. They need to cultivate a self-pleasure practice. That's something that they need to do to be able to, I don't know, scratch that itch or whatever, but it's up to them to be able to cultivate that. You can't force your partner to go, well, you need to be putting out 10 times a month, you know.
By the way, can I just congratulate you? You just made jacking off sound very sexy. Cultivating yourself.
Go for a shower and have a wank.
What did you call it? Cultivating a
self-pleasure practice.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And there is this sort of societal perception that guys always want it more than women.
Not true.
No?
No. Lots of women. I've worked with multiple clients where women want it more than their partners. I mean, it definitely is more common that men do want it more, especially for mothers as well. Mothers who are kind of tapped out, tired, not necessarily wanting it as much. But I've absolutely worked with women who are in the exact opposite position. Yeah.
And back to the thing you were saying about cultivating a self-pleasure practice.
Yeah.
Should that be a secretive thing or should that be...
No, communication. I think that's what makes... You know, when you have secret wanks or whatever, it's like that's what creates shame and like, oh God, I hope they don't catch me. I've got to do this.
A danger wank is
danger wank. Is that fun, is it? I've never done one of those.
So how do you mean you should be open about it? Should it be like, okay, I'm going to take my phone now to the toilet. And,
well, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily like... say, I'm going to go have a wank now. Like, are you all good with that? You know, you've already had the conversation and you've agreed, okay, cool. Like, we can have sex 4 times a month and I know that you're going to be self-pleasuring and I'm completely okay with that because I want your needs to get met. So whether you communicate it afterwards, it's up to you to navigate. If you want to talk about it every time you have a wank or you self-pleasure, totally fine. But I don't feel like you need to explicitly and tell your partner, I'm going for a wank.
And it's like, okay, we've done it 4 times this month. I'm just giving you the right of refusal. Is that too much communication?
yeah, I think we need to pull back there.
Does penis size matter?
No.
No?
I don't think it does. And if it isn't hitting the right spots, you can change positions, and there are toys that can help with this as well. Positions, cock rings, additional things that you can add to it, but no.
Why did it become such a big thing? Like, guys like to gloat about the penis size. If a girl has a bad breakup, like, she'll say, "Oh, he had a tiny penis."
I know. I think it's ridiculous. I think, honestly, pornography, it comes back down to pornography. And even with women, it's like, oh, she's got big breasts, you know. It's seen as, like, a valuable thing. Just
a
like
status
a big,
symbol.
yeah, it's like a big cock. It's like, yeah, it's not necessarily a great thing. You know, I've met dudes who have big penises, and they're like, it's shit. I can't even fit it all the way in. Or like,
There's a guy on OnlyFans called the Girth Master. I think he's
about
making like
this.
$250,000 a month.
I know. The $250,000. Oh my God.
It's crazy, eh?
That's an expensive cock.
How can you keep that initial lust alive? You know that, you know, when you first meet someone and, you know,
Yeah.
is it possible? You know what I mean? It's like you meet someone and maybe you date each other for however long, and then you have sex, and you wake up in that first night and you have sex with each other, and then you have sex again in the morning.
Yeah, totally.
Is it impossible to keep that alive? Is that just a chemical thing that disappears?
No. I absolutely. Well, I think it changes from lust into like deep love and passion, right? When you get to really know your partner, there's more love there. So are you wanting to keep the lust alive? I don't know. That's not something that I focus on, keeping lust alive. It's more like, how can we keep the passion alive? And the passion comes from listening to each other, exploring each other, staying open-minded with each other, trying new things, right? When you learn it's together, that's where it creates like bonding and connection with one another. So yeah, I would focus more on like keeping the passion alive, and that's like being newbies at new things together in the bedroom.
God, you're so good at this, eh? I feel like you've got like an awesome answer for any of these questions.
I mean, I'm just trying my best.
So before you dug your heels in and got really into this as like an occupation, you were just a regular girl in her 20s, just blindly working your way through life?
Yeah. I was on super yachts and in a relationship, just doing my thing, not really sure. Well, I started off as a yoga teacher, actually. Before I went to super yachts, I did a yoga training, and that was kind of like, that's what allowed me to understand the body a bit more. Because before that, I partied a lot, I drank a lot, I did lots of drugs, and it was very unfulfilling.
Yeah, it brings you pleasure until it doesn't anymore, doesn't it?
It's temporary pleasure.
Yeah,
Until
cheap
the
dopamine.
next day. It is. It literally is.
How do I know if I'm a sex addict?
Gosh, that's a very complex question.
Is it?
I feel like you would need to really unpack, because someone could say, I love having sex every single day. It doesn't make you a sex addict, you know? So it's almost like, what are you addicted to around sex?
Yeah, I feel like it can be a cop-out answer for people that get caught having an affair.
Right.
Often, eh?
Yes, true. Yeah, I didn't see that.
My partner is fixated on anal, but I'm not really keen with having his D in my B. Any thoughts on this?
My B. Well, that's absolutely fine. You don't have to be, you know, and it's like being whoever you are is saying like, that's just not something I'm into. And again, we always come back to respecting our partner's sexual boundaries and being completely okay with that. Like, why would you want to do something that your partner's like, that actually doesn't feel good for me? You know, like, that's not going to bring you 100% pleasure, knowing that your partner doesn't actually enjoy it. So for the receiver, be completely okay. It's totally fine. You've got other holes to play with. Explore those. But if you ask somebody, like, if she wants to like it, which actually kind of wasn't the question, start off slow. create an environment that feels relaxing for you. Explore, like ask your partner just to explore like fingers around your anus, creating like just that connection around it without anything being inserted. I don't know if this is in a heterosexual relationship, but a lot of women, things have just been inserted inside us forcefully or without kind of any boundaries or permission. It's just kind of like, okay, I'm going to insert it and put it in. So I think for a lot of women, we tend to close up around that area. So especially around the anus as well. Create a space that feels relaxing and safe, and just ask your partner, lots of lube, to just start exploring it with hands and communicate. How does that feel? Oh, that feels like a little bit weird still. Or can you press a little bit harder? I'm just going to breathe a little bit more, bring in some blended pleasure around her clitoris so that's not just focusing on her anus, and then just see how you go with that. And if you're still a no, totally okay.
Oh, yes, from other podcasts I've heard you on, you're really big about butt stuff for dudes, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's where your prostate lives, which is a similar, like it's where our G-spot lives in the upper wall of our vagina. Your like G-spot, P-spot lives in your anus. Absolutely. There is so much shame and taboo around butt play for men, and I'm like, you are missing out if you aren't slipping something up there.
My sphincter just sort of clenches up. Anytime like I could feel like a finger around there, it's like it just like clenches up like a Venus flytrap or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
where is it? How far in is it? Is it sort of on the other side of the perineum?
Towards your bladder.
Okay.
So, I mean, and look, some people don't like stuff around their butt. It feels too tickly, or it's just like, it feels like they're going to poo all the time and they don't like it. But maybe, you can laugh. Maybe it's just communicating with your partner and like setting the scene for butt stuff. Lots of lube, always lots of lube, starting with the finger, and then maybe you bring in a little butt plug. Just a little butt plug.
Just a tinsy tiny one. The smallest one imaginable. I love my wife more than anything, but I just don't feel as sexually attracted to her as I used to. I know this is a me problem, but any tips to get over it? These Instagram questions, it's very hard, with just the
it is.
The surface.
And also, I don't know if it's about getting over it. It's communicating and sharing, like understanding yourself. What's going on here? Has the dynamic in your relationship changed to some degree? I love talking about polarity, which is like feminine energy and masculine energy in relationship. And we all have these. You have feminine, masculine energy. I do too. But sometimes that polarity is shifted where if you're both in your feminine energy, and I can talk about this in another way, like leading and following, if you're both trying to lead, it's not going to create polarity or attraction, right? It's like, no, come this way, follow me, do as I say, and you're both doing that, no attraction. You've got to have a leader and a follower in your relationship, right? Someone sitting back and saying, I trust you to lead, I trust you to make the decisions for our family, and I trust you to lead us, creates attraction. So yeah, look into that. What's happening in your dynamic, in your relationship? Are you communicating? And what is that energy dynamic? Are you both trying to lead? Are you both trying to follow? No, you go. No, you go. No, you go. And it's just like there's going to be no attraction there. You've got to create that thing, whatever the fetish is. And like, it kind of blew my mind. Like, what are your thoughts on that? So you're taking yourself out of the picture and actually just saying like, oh, I read this thing here. I saw that there. What are your thoughts on that? And then from there, you can kind of gauge if they're like, Jesus, what the fuck?
You'll be like, yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Then, maybe you can like just...
Yeah, gross. Introducing another lady. Why would we want to do that?
I would never do that either.
It's disgusting. Yeah. How many people do you need?
I'll put this boner back down then.
Oh, that's a good way to go about it. Just testing the waters.
Yeah, testing the waters. And then if they're like, oh, that's kind of interesting, or I find it curious, then maybe she's like, yeah, actually something in my body started moving within me and I kind of felt a little bit aroused around it. Like, would you ever want to explore that with me or try that with me? And I think it's really important when we're talking about our fetishes, our kinks, our fantasies, it's a really fucking vulnerable conversation to have. Like, some people, are so fearful and will take their fetishes and their kinks and their fantasies to their grave because they are so scared of being judged or shamed, or even their partners leaving them or seen in a different light. It's like, oh my God, now they're going to know that I like being tied up and like whipped viciously, you know? So I think when you have someone coming to you, like the receiver of someone telling you about their kink and fantasy, just know that it may have taken them a whole lot to come and share that with you, and to not judge them, and even saying like, thank you so much for sharing that with me, that feels like really exciting, or being honest and saying like, wow, that feels like a little bit nerve-wracking for me, or I feel like I just need a couple of days to sit with this. So key to have that safe space to talk about these things.
Oh, that's great. That's really cool. My partner always finishes really quickly. Often this is incredibly frustrating. How can I introduce him to edging? What's edging?
Oh, yeah, edging. Okay, so edging is something, say on a scale of 0 to 10. When we're talking about edging, you want to hang around an 8. So 9 is like you're too far gone, you're about there. 10 is like you're blowing. Right? So we want to hang around that 8 bit. Now, what happens with edging is we build somebody up. So building up our partners through foreplay, whatever it is. And you're actually going to communicate and say, babe, I'm at a 7 or an 8. And so cool, they're at an 8, I need to slow this down. So if you're doing something, an intense move that you know builds them up really quickly or gets them aroused, I see a little grin. I'm
probably projecting here, but if I'm at an 8, I'm like, no. There's no turning back now.
Right. Okay.
7, 8, 8,
8, 9, 10, oh God.
Bugger. Damn it.
Bugger. Too late.
Next time.
So, yeah, you want to hang around that 8. So it's so easy to communicate, babe, where are you at? I'm at a 7. Cool, I'm going to like stop giving you a hand job, and maybe I'll move to just like massaging your inner thighs, or a bit of ball play, or kissing you, or maybe it switches to you pleasuring me now. Right? And so you're talking to each other, which is such an easy, quick way to understand where each other are at, so you know who's pleasuring who and what you need to do so that you can both come together.
Literally.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Pun very much intended.
I love sex, but I'm extremely self-conscious about how I look naked. Any tips for getting over this?
Yeah, you've got to create a relationship with your body. You've got to get over that. What pressure are you holding around yourself? What are you meaning your body means? You know, what are you I think a big thing, and I'm going to maybe assume this is female, I'm not sure, but you've got to start loving your body, because it's literally inhibiting your sex life. Right? It's going to inhibit the type of sex you're having, the positions that you're in. You've got to get in front of the mirror and, well, this is what I share with my clients anyway. Massage your body, say affirmations to your body, move your body so that you actually feel good, get blood flowing through your body, eat good food, you know, all those things that you do to feel good in your body. You've got to be doing that. And then, cultivate a relationship to your body.
Got anyone that's listening to this that knew you during your party girl era? They'll be like, who is this?
The hell
eat good food, get some sleep, hydrate your skin.
Yeah, no, she's dead, that one.
I feel a sense of guilt after I masturbate. Is this normal?
Absolutely. And a lot of people who watch porn and masturbate will feel guilty after that. It's something that you've got to get over. Masturbation is actually super normal and healthy and common. You know, it's a way of caring for your body and your pleasure. So maybe instead of self-pleasure, it's almost self-care. So, yeah.
And unless, of course, you're doing it in Bunnings, then you should feel guilty.
What the hell? Oh, my God.
This is a very short question. Should we schedule sex?
Yes.
Yeah?
Scheduling sex is great.
Doesn't it take any sort of romance out of it?
It's interesting because I put a post up on this the other day, but you're not scheduling penetration. You know, and that's where a lot of people are like, oh, it's so unsexy. Like, I have to be turned on. I have to be ready to go. I have to be, like, ready for sex. What about if you're just scheduling connection? What about if you're just scheduling intimacy? right? As busy people who, many of us are time poor, and if you're parents, you'll understand this as well. Sometimes you need to schedule in those moments of just being with one another and connecting with one another. Maybe you're scheduling in a 10-minute or 15-minute giving and receiving, and then just seeing where it leads to. But absolutely, I think nowadays scheduling sex is so important, otherwise it never happens.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at it, because I suppose I'm probably guilty of this as well. Like when you think about sex, you do think about orgasms or penetration.
Right, yes. Yeah, you do, of course. Yeah. And so, I mean, for some people, I believe that you can make it sexy. You can make it hot. You can build it up during the day, being like, I can't wait to give you a full body massage. I can't wait to suck your ... You know, you can build it up and create, like, sex doesn't just happen in the bedroom. Sex happens out of the bedroom. We can build it up to be an amazing experience in the bedroom, and the key to that is doing it outside of the bedroom.
Right.
Build
So
it
like
up.
3-play.
Yes, 3-play.
Yeah.
Love it.
Is that right? It makes so much sense. So
Yeah.
you're just creating this sort of hype.
Especially for a woman's body, who is very much like, most women need a heart connection, right? And I put up a post last year. It went viral, and it said, open her heart before you open her legs, right? I want to feel love, trust, and safety. And when I feel that in my body's and my nervous system is able to relax and open to you, the situation, the experience, the energy that's here. If I know that it's just like, right, we're here for business, let's just get straight down into this, there's no emotional connection, potentially won't even reach an orgasm. It'll feel very, what's the word, where it's just like a transaction. So building it up outside of the bedroom is what like creates really hot, fiery sex in the bedroom.
Oh, I love that. That's great. What are your thoughts on online sex, like over FaceTime, for example?
Great, hot. If you're in a long distance relationship, absolutely. Most of my relationships have been long distance, and I can tell you I've been definitely doing some of that.
My partner was a total freak when we met. Now she calls me disgusting if I suggest something we used to do, like sex on a beach, for example.
Conversation.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why does that gross you out now? Or why do you call me a freak now when this is something that we used to share together? Like, tell me about that. You know, be interested in what's shifted her experience, because that could bring a bit more compassion to the situation as well, and help you better understand, oh, it's because that time when this happened, it made her feel like this, ... and now she's shut down to it. When you understand a situation, you're easily able to unpack it and then maybe explore it again.
Shit, this is insightful. It's so much of it is from the neck up, eh?
Absolutely. Oh my God, our brain is our biggest sexual organ.
That's crazy. Lately, we have been really tired just with general adulting. We are currently on a 10-week dry spell. Should we be worried about the health of our relationship?
Absolutely not.
No?
Simple answer, absolutely not. Sex, and I said this before, but sex doesn't mean that you've got a healthy relationship. If you're having sex 5 times a week, that doesn't mean you've got a great relationship. Absolutely not. I didn't have sex for 6 months. I had a phenomenal relationship. Sometimes you're just in these seasons of life where you go through dry spells. It's being able to get out of the dry spell that's the key, right? Which is like bringing in some excitement, honestly, scheduling intimacy and starting with intimacy and connection rather than sex. A lot of people who don't have sex go, oh my God, okay, shit, we've got to have sex. We've got to have sex. It's like, no, just start level 1. What's that? Intimacy. Let's start connecting with each other's desires and bodies again. Do the turn on and off practice. That's a great way to get things going, where you're not actually naked and being like, all right, let's do it.
What's that? What's the turn on, turn off practice?
The sheet. Get a piece of paper, lie
yes.
down the middle, turn on, turn off.
The A4 bit of paper. Yeah, that's bloody great.
Yeah.
Great bit of homework.
Yeah.
And quite fun doing it with your partner. This one's very similar to that last one. How can we get out of our dry spell without adding extra pressure?
I think intimacy,
Yep.
coming back to, and it's like having a conversation around and just acknowledging, like, babe, I'd love to have a little chat. Have it outside of the bedroom. Maybe even go to the beach or get a little coffee or go for a walk where you're not necessarily like looking at each other in the eyes, like where you're driving or whatever, and just acknowledge it. Have a conversation about it, and then both think of an idea of like what would feel fun right? Rather than a chore or a job, what would feel fun to kind of get the wheels in motion again? And even thinking yourself, like, or even saying, hey, we're going to go have a talk about, you know, our relationship. Let's both bring an idea that we want to, like, how we can get things started again, and then sharing it with one another.
This is all great stuff. I feel like both people in any partnership need to be on the same page. If someone's defensive,
That's it.
then it's game
nowhere.
over, right?
It's literally going to get nowhere.
Yeah.
And defensive, it really...
It's so unsexy as well.
Yeah, and it's just really hard. You know, if you want things to be moving, you've got to nourish your own shit. You know, if I'm having a conversation with my partner and he says something to me and I can feel that trigger in my body, it's so important for me just to have 2 feet earth down on the ground and take a breath, and even just acknowledging, like, oh, that kind of like hit me in the heart. I'm just going to take a moment because I don't want to react right now, and I'm just going to like figure out what to say. And maybe you even go, I just need 5 minutes. I'm just going to walk outside and take a minute. But that way it's like, oh, my partner knows that what they said has triggered me in a certain way. They're resourcing, self-resourcing. I'm just going to like give them that space rather than like, come on, answer. Or like, why have you gone? You know, it's like, hold the container, hold the space for those kind of conversations.
Why is so much pressure put on sex in marriage, and is it actually a failure when it wanes?
No, it's not a failure. No. I think there's so much pressure because we have got this idea that sex means good relationships. Sex means healthy marriage. And for some people, it is a big thread that keeps things going, and it does create connection, but it's not the be-all, end-all, you know? So I think, yeah, there's just a societal pressure that we put on sex.
Yeah, it's like the comparison thing we were talking about
Yes.
before. Yeah, you can't help but do it.
Yeah.
Any tips for balancing the mundaneness of life with the need for eroticism in a long-term relationship?
Wow, this is a good question. Can you say that again?
No, I can't. Any tips for balancing the mundaneness of life with the need for eroticism in a long-term relationship?
I feel like you need to talk about it and book it in. And like think about what are some of those things that brings eros into your life and your relationship, you know? Is it accessories? Is it an experience? Is it a location? And it's so important as well. We can bring eros into our every single day. We can bring pleasure into our every single day, but it's our awareness that does that. So for maybe one person, what brings me eros in my everyday, maybe it's just having a slow shower and moisturizing my body and tuning into like eros within my body. Maybe it's creating a ritual with my partner and calling in erotic energy together through a certain practice like orgasmic breath work or like pussy massage or cock massage or like, I mean, there's so many things. I think getting into Tantra, which is something that I studied, that will help you really activate more eros in your relationship.
Is Tantra on the same page as edging? Or no, is it completely different?
No, Tantra is a practice. It's it's a whole way of kind of looking at sex.
Okay.
Well, Neo-Tantra is, yes. It's like in the Buddhist tradition.
Oh, yeah. So am I thinking of tantric sex? Is that the same thing or a different thing?
Sex. Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's Neo-Tantra.
Right.
Classical Tantra doesn't even involve sex.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I've never had an orgasm. I lie to my partner because it would devastate him. What's wrong with me?
Oh, nothing is wrong with you. And I think you've got to tell your partner, you know, and just say, look, and maybe you don't tell your partner, I've been faking it all along, but I think, you know, maybe you don't need to go there. But
Save that one until you have a really big argument. No.
no, I think it's communicating. You've got to figure out your needs, wants, and desires in a relationship. A lot of the time when people aren't orgasming, women, it's like they don't even know what turns them on. They don't even know what touch is. Like, you've got to start touching yourself. You've got to start self-pleasuring and learning what gets you going, and then showing your partner or telling your partner, grab their hand and say, I love it like this, and then move their hand in that situation. Communicate with them and say, like, I need more, or I need less, or can you go slower? It's so important during sex communication, because literally you have the power to allow yourself to orgasm. It's through your voice.
Yeah, that's a big step into vulnerability, I guess, for
It
a whole
is.
lot of people,
Yeah.
which is scary.
It is. And there's a type of way of sexual communication, it's like you don't have to say, what the hell are you doing? Stop it. Or like, but it's really like, how can you guide the energy? How can you say, babe, I love it when you slow down a little bit. Yes. Oh my God, that's so good. Like using that positive reinforcement and saying just a little bit to the left, babe. Or I'm starting to feel a little bit like shut down, disconnected. Can we go back to kissing? Or can we go back to a little bit of foreplay? Or can we, it's like, where do you want it to go? What do you need? You can't just expect your partner to be down there or up there, whatever, doing the thing and going, no, I don't want this, or this doesn't feel good. You've got to be able to understand what you need next and exploring that.
Hey, this has been great. This is so good. Like, there's been a lot of diverse questions here, and there were two very challenging ones that you passed on, but everything else, I mean, your answers make it sound. I was going to say it is simple, but it's more complex than that. But you do make it seem very simple.
Yeah, what's been the biggest thing that you've learned from all those answers?
Probably the importance of communication, really.
Yeah.
That's probably, if I was going to write one word down on a bit of paper and underline it 3 times, that would be the thing.
Yeah, and communication is the hardest.
Yeah. So it's about, tearing your walls down.
It is.
Both parties.
Yeah, you've got to go in with an open heart. And I think when we communicate with our minds, it gets a little bit scratchy, gritty. We don't really know what to say and we get anxious. But if we communicate with our hearts, it's like, and we really feel, or we share how we feel, like, babe, I'm feeling really nervous to share this with you. I'm feeling a little bit scared to have this conversation, but I want to love you better. I want to fuck you better. I want to know what really gets you going. Like, I want you and us to have a great sex life, and I'm willing to start that conversation today, even though my knees are shaking or I'm sweating beads. It comes from someone being vulnerable.
How can people get hold of you? What's the easiest way?
Instagram.
Yeah.
At Melissa Vranjes. Yeah. Or my website. I'm sure you'll probably link those.
And if someone, there'll be a lot of people, I guess, that wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable being in a group situation.
No, lots.
So is it one-on-one, or you do couples, or a bit of everything?
I don't work with couples. I work with women in relationship. Okay. But yeah, one-on-one coaching with women, single, solo, in relationships and marriages. I have online programs. I have in-person workshops. I have masterclasses online.
And when's the next BJ Like a Boss? Are you going to do
next weekend?
Right, so we're recording this at the beginning of May, so it's next weekend.
Yeah, so it's the 11th of May.
Okay, so you're doing these every month?
At the moment, yes. Yeah.
Were you thinking about doing more?
Well, they're just selling out so fast, and they are very fun, so we'll see. At the moment, I've got 2 in Auckland, maybe 1 down in Tauranga, and then I'm flying to Sydney and Melbourne to do them at the end of June, so we'll see.
Because it's a fun novelty sort of thing. So I suppose there's that shtick factor, but it's also a genuine thing, isn't it?
It is. And I think that's what makes it so great, is you actually learn so many things. You're doing it with like a whole lot of other women who are in the same situation, nervous, scared, and like, WTF.
Awkward. It's awkward.
It is.
Yeah,
it is. But after a couple of glasses of Prosecco, it's like, what the hell? A lot of women want to learn how to pleasure men. Imagine if men could do that, Like, can you imagine men in a room with a whole lot of vulvas?
What would we use? Like peaches? Or what would we...
Yeah, maybe oranges.
Papayas?
Yes, papayas. Papayas, definitely.
Dude's walking up with sloppy orange grits. Oh, unreal. Eat papaya like a prince. I don't know. That's a work one. What other names did you? You must have had like a brainstorm or a workshop before you settled on BJ Like a Boss. What was
that? So my sister came up with that name. I can't remember what other name she came up. She's so good at picking names. There was definitely like give head like a hero. Go down like a something or rather, but
like a demon.
Yeah. Imagine Here I go.
Oh, you little devil.
Get down, devil. No, that's all I can remember. But
Yeah.
BJ Like a Boss is just like, this feels fiery. Like, I love it.
Hey, well, congratulations on all the success you're enjoying at the moment. It's
Thank you.
very well deserved, and this has been so informative. I wasn't sure what to expect. I've never done anything like this on my podcast before, so
Cool.
I'm not sure how it's going to be received or what sort of I think that there's a lot of people that won't even listen to a podcast with a sex coach on because it just won't be their thing.
Yeah.
But anyone that is sort of on the fence that has listened, I'm sure they would have got something out of this.
Yeah, I
It's
hope
been
so.
really informative.
Yeah, good.
Really good stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, Melissa Vranjes, thank you so much.
Thanks, Tom.